And also, you spent some time being in charge of Star Wars. What are the dangers of Star Wars combined with RFF chips, LoJack, OnStar, cell phone tracking devices, and numerous other forms of government and corporate monitoring software and other devices?
Well, that's a bunch of questions, but Star Wars is something that I have been speaking out against since 1981. I directed all the Star Wars programs in the 1970s under Ford and Carter, and when Reagan was elected, into power with him came the crazies, what we in the military used to call the lunatic French, people like Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Richard Pearl, Paul Wolfowitz, same people who sort of went into the woodwork for a while, and then when W was elected, they came right back into the government and seized control again. And these people have been pushing Star Wars, weapons in space in order to have absolute military superiority and to rule the world. They also want all of the privacy invading things that you mentioned, the chips and so forth, that give them the power to control the populace. And you have to understand that when the Department of Homeland Security was formed, I mean, I was against it from the get-go and speaking out, and gave a speech in Duluth in which I had a make-believe conversation with Bush and talking about trying to understand why you wanted Department of Homeland Security and all of that. And it's obvious the job of the Department of Defense and the CIA is to protect puppet dictators around the world from their people,
and also
and create terrorists to scare the bejeebers out of the American people. And the Department of Homeland Security is to protect Bush from us. I mean, the Department of Homeland Security is not out there to protect us from terrorists. It's to protect the wealthy elite from us, the people of the United States and Canada.
And also, there's the next question is it in 2007 there was an act passed called Protect America Act, which was passed by U.S. Congress that legalized warrantless surveillance, and in cases of a few major communications corporations were given direct pardons for any past illegal wiretapping that they had been involved with the U.S. government in the name of alleged war on terrorism. What is your thoughts on that act of many people call act of treason?
It is. Well, for one thing, I think all such acts are unconstitutional. The U.S. Congress does not have the authority to give away our constitutional rights. In order to rob us of our rights as given to us in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, Congress has to pass amendments to the Constitution and get them ratified by the states. Now, that hasn't happened, isn't going to happen, and so anything that they pass that tries to take away those rights is valid because it's unconstitutional.
And I'd also like to point out, Dr. Bowman, that we're having some problems with your communication with you. That sometimes it's almost like someone's trying to jam right now. So, that just shows you how important you are to tell us the truth. Because if someone's taking their time to do this, that means that you have something really extremely important to say. And I remind the listening audience again that Dr. Bowman will be here in person here in Vancouver to listen to. So that way no one can jam him. He'll be at the Maritime Center here in Vancouver and speaking at this Friday, the 22nd, It starts at 7:30. The doors open at 7 p.m. And for more information, go to Vancouver911truth.org. And you'll be in Victoria at St. Anne's Academy Saturday the 23rd at 2 o'clock. The next question I have for you is, now that the American military is allowed to go into cities when there's a declared state of emergency or national disaster or whatever, and they're allowed to act like police, doesn't that sound like it's almost like America's turning the clock back and going back to prior to the U.S. Constitution even existing, when the British used to occupy United States prior to United States becoming a country?
Well, sure. That, again, is another one of those unconstitutional acts that violates the Constitution and therefore is invalid. But, you know, if President George W. Bush tries to impose martial law and cancel the election, as many people fear, or cancel the results of the election, I don't think he's going to get away from it, because there are a lot of good people in the military in the United States. There are a lot of loyal, dedicated generals and admirals in the Pentagon who take seriously their oath of office, which is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that, by the way, includes a renegade president and vice. So it's my contention that if Bush declares martial law and is to get the military to round up us dissidents, I think the military are going to surround us and point their guns outward to protect us from Blackwater.